Lord be with you. And also with you. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those of us who take counsel in St. Alfred's Church for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
I appoint Barb Kunkel to be the annual meeting secretary.
This meeting is officially called to order. Annual meeting of St. Alfred's Episcopal Church on January 29th, 2023. I need a motion for approval of last year's annual meeting minutes. Seconded by Ann Kennedy and Klaus Temme. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you to Barb for those minutes. I want to invite those who have been nominated to serve on our new vestry to please come forward. That's Beth Stens, Sandy Tuller, and Barb Kunkel is already here. Yeah, face your congregation. Stand as well, yeah. So these are your nominees for vestry. We had 3 openings with the retirement, the moving off the vestry of Valerie Crow, of Jim Grayshaw, and Al Kunkel. And these 3 good members of the parish have stood for election. We have 3 openings and 3 nominees. Therefore, we can proclaim by acclamation that the election has occurred. And so I need a motion to proclaim by acclamation that we elect Beth Stens, Sandy Tuller, and Barb Kunkel to fill the 3 open seats on the vestry. Moved by John Kessinger. Second, please. By Hal Small. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. I'm going to turn the microphone over to our treasurer, Hannah Westcott, for both her financial report and a review of the 2023 budget. Thank you, Hannah.
I know that this is everyone's very favorite part of the annual meeting. So I will try to be concise and brief, and I have a lot of papers here, but that's just because the font is really big so that I can read it. So, people of St. Alfred's, again this year I was honored to serve as your treasurer. I don't take this responsibility lightly, and your trust in me humbles me daily. In my 3 years serving as your treasurer, I have been continually impressed with the ways that you are all so faithful in fulfilling your pledges and in giving far beyond your pledge promises to initiatives such as the Organ Fund, Alfred's Angels, and to various other outreach projects. So let's begin with our 2022 financial outcomes. Although we entered 2022 with an anticipated budget deficit of $61,000, we were able to reduce that estimate to $13,000 due to a generous $48,000 stock gift, which we received prior to last year's annual meeting. The really great news is at the end of the year, we show an actual surplus of revenues over expenses. The total number is difficult to evaluate because of accounting for the loan refinancing that I'll speak more about in a couple of minutes, but here are some key points. On the revenue side, the vestry decided that once again in 2022, we would receive our distribution from the Diocesan Endowment Management Program, the DEMP, which shows as income on our budget, and each month we received $1,812. Although these funds were earmarked or shown as income on the 2022 budget, we didn't have to access any of that money for operating. The money was deposited into our interest-bearing money market account, where it resides today. In 2023, it's our hope, in 2023, we again are going to receive those dividends, but in 2024, we hope to be able to reinvest and further grow our endowment. On the expense side, our overall expenses were lower than expected. The key items were a savings of $18,000 from hiring the rector's assistant later in the year than anticipated, and a $5,000 change in Father Peter's health insurance package. And most importantly, the savings in debt service payments from refinancing our loans in September. That was one of our best financial outcomes of 2022. The finance team had identified some financial goals, and the most pressing was the initiative to reduce the mortgage principal prior to having to refinance our Valley Bank loan in 2024. We had two things occur this past summer which allowed us to pay off the mortgage and to significantly reduce our overall debt. First, in June, we received an undesignated gift from the estate of Peter and Ethel Mackenzie in the amount of $98,000. The funds were placed in our money market account to accrue interest while the vestry discussed the best use of the funds. Next, we had the opportunity to consolidate our long-term debt through the diocesan loan program. We refinanced our existing 3 long-term loans, the mortgage from Valley Bank and 2 smaller existing loans from the diocese, into a single 15-year loan at 3% interest. In addition to the loan amount from the diocese, we used $24,000 from the Mackenzie estate gift and $5,000 from the restricted mortgage paydown fund to completely pay off the Valley Bank mortgage. The result is that our monthly debt service decreased from $5,081 to $3,653, a monthly savings of $1,400. And best of all, this long-term debt will be fully paid in 15 years. The mortgage payoff fund has been renamed Diocese of Southwest Florida Loan Payoff Fund, and are you so moved? You can still contribute to that to further reduce our debts. So we ended 2022 with our expenses under budget by $62,000. And this savings is largely due to the overall reduction in our debt. One final note, I always feel it's important to remind everyone of the positive impact of ongoing lease income and utilities share from Plateau Academy. This guaranteed monthly amount is quite helpful in assuring that we can meet our financial obligations. Now, on to the 2023 budget. The budget team began working on the 2023 budget last September. When crafting our yearly budget, we have very little concrete info, and it's like crafting a puzzle. We normally start with expenses, but for this discussion, we're going to start with the revenues. On the revenue side, there's far more uncertainty in the beginning. And thank goodness, by the time of the annual meeting, our greatest source of revenue, our pledges, is largely set. With a few exceptions, all other figures are best guesses based on historical data. The Budget Digest version, the insert in your annual report booklet, shows a breakdown of our anticipated revenues and expenses for the coming year. If you would like a copy of the line item budget, see me and I'll make sure that you get one. In October last year, we began our annual pledge campaign. Our theme, More Than Enough, was a great visual reminder of all the ways that God blesses and provides for us. So to date, for 2023, we've received 78 pledges in the amount of $269,735. A word from your sponsor. If you have not yet submitted your pledge, please do so. The pledge cards are available in the narthex. You can get them in the church office or see me, and I'll make sure that you get one. So, based on last year's numbers, we're anticipating total contributions of $325,000, and we're guesstimating miscellaneous income of $120,000. This amount includes our DEMP distribution, and our total expected revenues of $558,000 include $112,000 from operating reserves, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. So just a note before I move on to expenses, we are very fortunate that our congregation takes their pledge commitments very seriously. Our pledges received for 2022 is very close to 100%. The office just sent out annual statements, and that way you have the opportunity to see if your records and ours agree. If you see a discrepancy, call the office. And if you'd like to make up a shortfall, send it in and write 2022 pledge on your check. That way you'll receive credit where you would like it. On to the expenses, most of which we have limited control over. Personnel is by far the largest category, followed by buildings and grounds. This year, inflation and uncertainty is higher than usual. So for 2023, we've budgeted an $11,000 increase in total personnel. This is largely due to 12 versus 5-month salary for the assistant to the rector and includes small cost of living adjustments, as well as an additional small increase to Father Peter's salary. In building and grounds, we see a $22,000 increase from last year. This is largely due to the increase in our building insurance premiums and the increase in utility costs. By far the largest increase is in our outreach budget, which includes our diocesan assessment, our tithe to the diocese. Our assessment in 2023 is based on our expenses in 2021. In addition to installing 4 new air conditioners that year, we also made an $860,000 down payment on our new pipe organ. Our assessment for 2023 is $157,473, an increase of $112,000 from last year. I need to stress that this was not unexpected. The vestry was prepared for the large increase, and a plan is in place to mitigate the impact. The $112,000 reserve income that shows in our total revenues come from money already in our money market earmarked for this very use. And so we enter 2023 with a budget shortfall of $80,000, about $20,000 more than we started with last year. I have faith that as our congregation continues to grow, our pipe organ gets installed, and the visions for the future of our parish materialize, we will again this year exceed our anticipated revenues. The bottom line is that we require an income of $12,300 each week to meet our expenses. We, all of us, are St. Alfred's. This is our home church, so it's up to us, with God's help, to make sure that this happens. To keep you fully informed, beginning next week, you'll see a short report in both the banner and the bulletin board with our weekly income and expenses. And we'll also continue to email the monthly nutshell report, which is also posted in the narthex bulletin board and in the office. So, in conclusion, I would like to thank the finance team, the budget committee, and all who assisted with the diocesan audit this year. And a very special thanks to our counters group who faithfully show up every Monday morning to count and to process our weekly gifts. I encourage you all as members of this church to inquire about any aspect of our finances at any time. I'd love the chance to sit down with you individually and to explain our finances in detail. If you have a particular interest in finances or an expertise in any financial area, let us know, and we'd love to have you participate on the finance team, audit, or budget committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Are you willing to entertain some questions?
Sure.
Yeah, if there are any questions for our treasurer, there is a microphone set in the middle of the aisle here. If you have a question for Hannah that you'd like addressed now, please move to the microphone. Otherwise, you can always reach Hannah via email or on phone or at other times.
Yeah,
So,
just grab me.
sure.
Hi, and I'm new to this, so, forgive me, but the question that I had was regarding the diocesan assessment for the 23 budget, and I was trying to follow along with the refinancing of the loan and all that, and I see that that significantly increased year over year. Can you give us a better understanding what that line item entails, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
So in answer to that question, Beth, our senior warden, Scott Garrett, is going to be addressing that in his address. So I'm going to let him answer that question. And if you have further questions after that, then we can certainly address it. But other questions for Hannah? John? So Scott's going to address that question around the assessment and in his address. Sure. It was, again, a question around the increase in the diocesan assessment and why that's as high as it is. So, any other questions for Hannah? All right. I'm going to turn it over to our senior warden, Scott Garrett. Thank you, Scott.
Morning. Yes, one of the things that I want to do is go through why the diocesan assessment is what it is and why it becomes what it becomes based on history. Father Peter in his talk this morning, and then Hannah in her talk, sort of took most of what I was going to say in the beginning of my my talk to you, so you get a little bit less of me. But I want to point out a couple things, and one of the things I want to point out is the refinancing of the church debt and how big that is. What a significant thing that is. Prior to this, every 5 years or so, we would have to refinance our mortgage, a $460,000 mortgage. At that rate, we would continue to be paying on this mortgage for 20, 30 years. We also had in place a loan for the creation of our connection to the sewer system. Not very exciting. But before, we had a very lush green front lawn because of a septic system out there, and we hooked to the city sewer. So once that happened, we had a loan for that. And there was also, when the Memorial Hall was built years ago, we had a fundraising mechanism where members of the parish would invest. And we had to pay back that investment. It was a charitable remainder annuity CRAT. It was the CRAT program. And so that was a bit messed up when our prior leadership left, and we had to take out a loan to correct the errors related to that. So all those were put together into a single debt refinancing through the diocese. And the diocese allowed us to enter into that at a 3% fixed rate for 15 years. This means that 15 years, not only is the mortgage gone, but all those other debts. We have the potential, and there's no penalty for early repayment. We can, within 15 years or less, all of this can be paid off. We could never have done that without the support from the diocese through their program. So the diocesan assessment, There are two aspects to the diocesan assessment. One is operating cost. You pay 10% of your operating cost to the diocese each year, 2 years in arrears. So the 2021 operating costs are paid back in 2023. There is also a 10% capital expense tithe. So there's two components. You pay 10% of your operating costs, 10% of your capital investments, or capital costs. It sort of seems like punishment for maintaining your facilities and improving your facilities. But the diocese takes this money and uses it for various reasons. Some of you who were here in 2013 realize we had a $48,000 forgiveness of diocesan assessment that was not paid by St. Alfred's the years prior. So the diocese forgave that. The diocesan loan program is also a direct outreach from the monies they collect from their parishes and invest, and allows us to do things that we would not otherwise be able to do. So normally, because we don't have a whole lot of capital expense, our diocesan assessment is related to the operating expenses, $450,000 a year. So $45,000 diocesan assessment last year. This past 2021, we paid out $100,000+ in capital, 4 air conditioners, and 80% of the cost of the pipe organ. We knew that was going to result in 10% capital assessment 2 years down. And that's exactly what we're seeing. That occurs once. It will not be here next year. Yes, we will continue to pay capital on the remainder of the organ. So in 2025, there'll be another $40,000, approximately $40,000, for the 20% remaining on the organ and the other capital improvements that are being made as a part of this project. So these are known, it happens, and then it doesn't happen again. So we won't have a $157,000 assessment in 2024. Our assessment in 2024 will be related to 2022, and based on our figures, it will be approximately $52,000 for the operating expenses. And some things come out, like outreach and expenses like that, or it's $48,000. So not everything feeds into the apportionment, but generally it's approximately 10% of your operating expenses. So, as Hannah said, all of this was expected. And also, as I want to reemphasize that we went into 2022 expecting a $60,000 deficit. The gift allowed us to reduce that to $13,000 deficit, and we ended the year with a $40,000 surplus. So a budget is just a guess. It's not what's really going to happen, but it allows us to plan. So $20 extra a week would eliminate that deficit. We have 78 pledges, $20 a week from 78 pledges would eliminate the $80,000 deficit. I've increased my pledge accordingly. So anyone out there who can, we can help chew this down. But we also hope that through the year of building new members, building new parishioners, bringing people in, that can help bring that down. And certainly the generosity of this parish is nothing short of amazing, considering we entered into a project of $1.2 million, and as far as the organ itself goes, we've collected the money to pay off the organ. What's remaining in the project fund is those costs to do the renovations and improvements to the church in preparation for that organ, but also to repair a few things. And I'd like to talk briefly about those items that are not just the organ, but those associated items that are part of the project. The biggest, you're going to start seeing construction soon. The organ is being assembled in Canada. We've seen pictures of it. In May, we will go up and actually see and play the instrument, and then they will pack it up and move it down to Florida from Quebec. But between now and that time, we will be doing not only the construction of the platform over the back door to hold the antiphonal organ, we'll also be renovating the sound room to house the blower that will feed air to the antiphonal organ. We will be reopening the skylight so that you will be able to see. That used to be a window. It's covered over with copper, pretend copper, but copper. And we will be reopening that skylight. We will be reconfiguring the choir area a bit to fit the new console. We will be updating the sound system. Those of you sitting in the first 3 rows of pews are in front of the only speaker that points to you, so we're hoping to be able to update our speaker system so that every seat gets to hear well. We will be putting in new doors to the church. So there's a lot that's happening in addition to just preparing for the pipe organ and putting it in. But the organ is it's probably the biggest project this church has had since its building of the building. And it's a testament to the support of this parish that we've been able to do this. Some of us when we started didn't think it was possible. And then all of a sudden, poof, it became possible. So I want to thank all of you. The support is overwhelming, and it's very clear. And the coming year, we will be planning the inaugural year of this instrument. The bishop will be visiting us on October 22nd. He will bless the instrument. On October 27th, we will have the dedicatory recital. Prior to that, we will have other recitals and programs, but the dedication recital will be with a nationally renowned organ artist. We are not prepared to announce who that is yet, but we're in negotiations with an individual to play that dedicatory recital for us. And there will be many other events around the installation and initiation of the instrument. It should start in June, around the June time frame, and it will take 6 to 8 weeks to install, which means for a while there will be pipes lying all over the pews and a big mess in the church. But as that gets assembled, the mess out here moves from there up in there and gets plugged into its holes. So take a look at the pictures that are hanging out there. It shows you some of the progress. It's, as I said, it's being assembled as they're probably off on Sunday, but it's being assembled as we speak up in Canada. So it's an exciting year in the life of this parish. And thank you again. It's been an honor to serve you as senior warden for the past 4 years. It's been an honor to help lead the organ committee and work with Cassavant and our architect to get this project underway and come to fruition of a 40-year legacy that we've been all working towards for a long, long time. Have I answered the questions about the diocesan assessment? Okay. All right, thank you. If you would come to the microphone, please, because we're being broadcasted, so we want everyone at home to hear.
Oh, goody. Can you tell us how much longer Plato's lease is to run?
The Plato lease is approximately 8 years, 8, 9 years, something like that. And So there's a very good chance, I mean, with the way the finances are being set up with this 15-year loan, with the potential of paying that off early, the need for a large tenant over there will be significantly lessened. We could enter into a much smaller type tenant relationship with something like an Eckerd College adult education or a children's day school, something like that, to be able to have the church have its facilities back, to be able to actually have program. We are significantly handicapped because we have no space. So the really good thing about this, at least in my impression, is that we have no need for a long-term tenant relationship because of what we've been able to do with the diocesan loan program.
This is a little bit of a dream sheet. So could we perhaps in the next 20 years anticipate an Episcopal day school?
That's certainly an option. I mean, I think with what Father Peter has designed for the vestry to become a fiduciary body, to plan for the financial future of this church, that is certainly something we would do, should and would do, is what do we do post-Plato? What do we put in there that's the best fit for this church as an organization, to allow the church to build and grow and serve its congregation, and also provide a solid financial basis to do so.
So we just have to hope that Plato doesn't leave us before
If they
time.
did, we'll deal with it.
Yep, okay, good,
You know,
thank
if
you.
they did, we'll deal with it. We
Thank you.
dealt with a lot of stuff.
Any other questions for Scott? And just to reiterate what Scott said, and my hope for this change in the vestry focus is again to enable this congregation to have a very solid financial footing so that we are free to do the work that we've been called to do, to be more engaged in the wider community, to be less focused on the day-to-day pinching of pennies to make things work around here. It's a major shift in focus for the vestry, but I have full confidence that they are up for it. And it's an important shift to take place as we grow as a congregation. A smaller parish, the vestry really needs to be everything. They need to be in charge of developing ministry within a parish. They need to be fiduciaries. They need to worry about the property, personnel. As a parish grows, part of that growth is what we're seeing with our ministry teams, and we're going to turn in just a minute to the 5 leaders of those ministry teams to come up and just give you a brief introduction of themselves and some of the works that's going on with those teams. But it all reflects the growth that is happening here at St. Alfred's, that we are moving into a new stage of kind of running how we operate with divided focus between vestry and the ministry teams. So it's an exciting time, an exciting development. It's going to take some work. There'll be probably some growing pains along the way, but I have full confidence that we are all capable of growing into this new model of carrying out the work of this parish. So, all right, any other questions for Scott or for Hannah or for me? I do at this point want to turn to our 5 ministry team leaders. If you all would come up to the lectern and in turn just give your 1-minute elevator speech about what's going on with the team, the invitation to all of us to get involved. So I thank you for that. Who are we missing? Where's Joanne? Okay. And who's Fellowship. Oh, okay, there you go. All right. We'll pass you the mic. Would you like to go first? All right, okay. All right, Sue.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. I'm Susan Broward. My husband Marty and I co-chair outreach and have done so for the past 25 years. And I was really searching for something really inspirational to say, and after 25 years, it's kind of hard. But I was watching TV the other day, and this older gentleman had been feeding members in his immediate community for the past 14 years. And the reporter was going on and on and on and singing this guy's praises. And he finally put his hand up and he said, "You know what? No matter what, you cannot outgive God." This parish tries. We do a really good job at that. Everybody's so generous and caring and compassionate the way you treat our outreach projects. And I sincerely appreciate that. This year we're going to be making some changes. You guys have heard from me for 25 years and you're probably sick of it. I'm going to be asking members of the outreach team to actually start championing a specific charity. So you'll be hearing from different people, different voices, and this is a good thing because it will add new energy and new ideas to our outreach program, which I welcome. And I think we'll be able to have better relationships with the people that we're serving if one person is taking care of this ministry and one person's taking care of that ministry and one person isn't trying to take care of 10 ministries. So you all be hearing from different people than me and you know, listen to them, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much for all the support you've given.
Sue, if you would also mention when your next outreach team meeting is.
Oh, we do our outreach team meetings the first Saturday of every month. We meet at 2 o'clock to do the rice bagging party, and as soon as the rice bagging is done, about 2:30, 2:35ish, the outreach team meets then. And everybody's welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's so nice to see everyone here. I'm Dee Dee Herndon, and I'm head of the pastoral care team that we developed out of the Visioning Day. At the Visioning Day, we had 2 people who showed up at that, and I was like, ugh, ugh, ugh. Well, I'm pleased to say at our very first meeting that we had in December, we had 16 people come to the meeting, and we had now initiated one of our quick wins, which was to develop a lay visitation to our people that are shut-ins. That also includes just making some phone calls because some of the people didn't want to be visited. But that was just really inspiring to see that you all really wanted to be involved in this ministry. I won't reiterate what I wrote in the report. You can read that. But very quickly, our quick wins was developing the lay visitation, which we have already put into place. And then the other ones are re-energizing the Stevens ministry, which is going to take a little time because we have to train new ministers and also train somebody who would then help the Stevens ministers to be able to discuss what's going on with that ministry. And then also transportation for Sunday services. Again, that's going to take some ideas from you all. So we meet the first Wednesday of every month at 1 o'clock, not 1:30, it's 1 o'clock in the church library. So I hope you'll come and meet us on that Wednesday and give us your help for this important ministry. Thank you.
Excuse me, my name is Jim Grayshaw, and I've been asked to be involved with the, yes, excuse me, I'm sorry. My name is Jim Grayshaw. I was asked to participate in the adult faith formation process. First, let me say that the 5 categories are really artificial constructions because there's such an overlap. Everybody overlaps everybody else. But adult formation, as it is right now, includes, for example, the Bible study that we do. It includes the Sunday adult formation, which would be in lieu of an adult Sunday school, which takes place in the church office after the Sunday service. It also includes things like coffee hour, the senior luncheons, which provide opportunities for people to be together, to talk to each other and get to know each other. The adult formation, faith formation, is kind of an educational process, including the book club, which is meeting this Wednesday for anybody who would like to come. Even if you haven't read the book, you can come and listen to the discussion. It also includes the Faith in the Public Forum, which is on the first Friday of every month, and we discuss public issues, etc. And there's a write-up in the annual report that explains what the committee does. We do have some plans for this coming year. We had one meeting. We haven't scheduled the next meeting or a continuing meeting, but we will be doing so. Okay.
Hi, I'm Joanne Kerr, and I am on the worship committee. And although we have not actually had a meeting yet, our worship is very much prescribed by the tenets of the church. And, you know, we don't have a whole lot of leeway, but I think with some ideas, and we can find alternate forms of worship and ways to get more people included. I am going to put in a plug for acolytes and readers. I would like to get more people involved in serving on the altar each weekend. If you have any interest in being a reader or becoming an acolyte or becoming a Eucharistic minister, please let me know. We do hold training sessions, and it's a really great way to serve the parish and our fellow people. And please knit hats. That's my other big thing right now, knit hats. Thank you.
Is that better? Ooh. Sorry about that. I'm Barb Kunkel, and I'm the team leader for Fellowship, which I recently took on. So we are in the beginning stages of setting up some things that we want to do. We're looking at some small group dinners, getting a few couples together or singles together, people you don't know, and meeting at someone's house or another venue, whatever serves you, and do that on a monthly basis and kind of rotate that out. So that's one of the things that we do. Coffee hour, we need volunteers for coffee hour, which is just the setup and the breakdown, and everyone is doing potluck and bringing things, so it's not like it used to be. You don't have to do 100%. We're asking that our teams also volunteer for a weekend, so we're working on that and have a few teams already scheduled. The other things we're doing is looking for local venues that we can go do outings with or take a bus trip somewhere, if we can get the price of the bus down, because it's outrageous right now. So those are kind of some of the things that we're looking at, and we have a meeting coming up this week, Thursday at 2 o'clock in the Parish Library. If you would like to attend, please come. All are welcome. So that's it. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you.
At this time, I'd like to invite our outgoing vestry members, Valerie Crow, Jim Grayshaw, and Al Kunkel, to please come forward. As a way of thanking you for your service on the vestry, I have a tradition of buying a book for you, and that I hopefully will intrigue you and inspire you, and yours is the first one, Valerie. So, dear Valerie, in thanksgiving for your compassionate care and concern for members of our parish and the wider community, a bit of wisdom from a fellow Brit, Karen Armstrong. May it enable you to continue to grow in this holy calling. Thank you for your service on the vestry and all that you do. Thank you. If you'd like to. Dr. Al, to my dear friend who knows so much, gives so much to this parish, and also possesses the gift of a restless heart. May this book and your restless heart continue to lead you into a deeper walk with God and new and exciting ways of blessing those around you. On the road with St. Augustine. Thank you, Al. Thank you. To one of the great curious minds in our parish, dear Jim, in thanksgiving for your endless curiosity and love of learning that continues to be such a blessing to me and this parish, a book by another curious soul, John Shelby Spong, who never stopped asking all the right questions. May it be a blessing to you even as you continue to bless all of us with your engaging heart and mind. Thank you, Jim. They are very sensitive. So for those of you who have ever wondered about serving on the vestry but wasn't sure it was worth it, at least you get a book at the end of your 3 years. So, the applause of your fellow congregants. All right. Any other business to come before this meeting? Any other questions to be answered? We're going to get you out of here in under an hour. How's that? Huh? If there is no further business to attend to, I would invite you all to pick up your Book of Common Prayer. And turn to page 836, page 836. Prayer, a general thanksgiving, which I think so beautifully sums up our life as followers of Christ, the work that we're called into. Let us pray together. Accept, O Lord, our thanks and praise for all that you have done for us. We thank you for the splendor of the whole creation, for the beauty of this world, for the wonder of life, and for the mystery of love. We thank you for the blessing of family and friends, and for the loving care which surrounds us on every side. We thank you for setting us at tasks which demand our best efforts, and for leading us to accomplishments which satisfy and delight us. We thank you also for those disappointments and failures that lead us to acknowledge our dependence on you alone. Above all, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, for the truth of his word and the example of his life, for his steadfast obedience by which he overcame temptation, for his dying through which he overcame death, and for his rising to life again, in which we are raised to the life of your kingdom. Grant us the gift of your Spirit, that we may know Christ and make him known, and through him, at all times and in all places, may give thanks to you in all things. Amen. I need a motion to adjourn this annual meeting. Zandy's made a motion, a second. Ann? All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you all.